what's up YouTube? Dem here with a build update to the Ice Strike Invoker, which I have now deemed the One Crunch Man. I've gone Magic Find and even more jewels on my tree basically, so I'm going to go over everything again. But this is not the original build guide. If you're looking for the more budget version that's like more noob friendly and less expensive, I'll link that in the description. But as you can see, it performs basically the same. Let's see if I can just find the boss. I guess this doesn't have a map boss, so I'll just clear for a while until we get bored. But map clear's the same. You kind of just walk around, you slap a pack, it explodes. You then activate your charge strike with your free power charges, and that gives you, or charge staff, sorry, and that gives you your little wavy thingies for shock and electric, or fire, lightning damage. I'm running like 200% rarity, which I think is too much. I think the diminishing returns kick in after 150. So maybe don't go as hard on rarity as I did, but I'm dumb and I just kind of didn't look that up before I started getting my rarity gear, so don't worry about it. It still gives you something, but it's less than it was. Or less than it should. I don't know. You know what I mean? Let me find a rare so we can like see that. Was that the rare? Was there a rare there? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But yeah, overall, it performs exactly the same. The screen-wide detonations still happen. Okay, that was a rare. Oh god! But yeah, that's that. I'll clear the mess of the map later. Let's go talk about stuff real quick. So, skill tree, gear, whatever. Let's start with skill tree. I switched up a few things. The previous version, I didn't have this node. I was running the, when you freeze them, hits ignore non-negative resistances of frozen enemies, whatever. I got rid of that because it's not as reliable. Once you get above 50-60% crit, this becomes better. And you can't freeze bosses permanently, you can only freeze them every so often. So this just allows your damage to stay consistent if you have high enough crit. For me, with Ice Strike, why is my damage not showing? Do I need to move? There we go. With Ice Strike, I'm running 53% crit, which I then get 18% more crit in maps with Charge Infusion from it eating my power charges. So this becomes something like 61% with 670 multi, which is pretty high. So skill tree wise, we switched that node, otherwise we still kept our extra cold damage. Freezing creates chilled ground. This just gives you a little bit of a defensive layer. If you just want more damage while mapping, you can also just use this to create shock ground more reliably, but these are, you can switch between these, whatever you want. Whichever one you don't have, you should probably grab the opposing here. 5% of damage is extra lightning, or damage is extra cold, whichever one you don't have. I have both because I'm high enough level, but if you're low level, just drop whichever one you already have on your ascendancy, basically. Otherwise, skill tree is still more or less the same. Let's see, we got damage for crits, damage for lightning, damage for cold, movement speed, crit. This is all crit. This is attack speed. This is ES evasion. This is crit. This is ES evasion stuff. This is crit damage. This is crit. This is crit. This is attack speed. This is melee strike range. This is all crit. This is damage with heralds. And then the rest is just jewel sockets. So jewels are the same. You want one red jewel, one ruby with rage on melee hit. I actually bought a weapon with the corruption gain rage on hit, but it apparently is bugged and doesn't work at all. I thought it would be the same as the jewel. So if the patch today hopefully fixes this, it will. I'll be able to drop this and grab another jewel like my other jewels. But until then, that corrupted implicit is useless, and I paid a lot of money for it, and it doesn't matter. So that kind of sucked. But other jewels. They're all just like 4 damage mods basically. So I also got some movement speed here. I have 2 emeralds. You can get 1 to 2% movement speed on emeralds. It's really expensive, but if you can get some nice ones like this, then sure, get them. But don't buy the 1% ones and then divine them, because I did that and it cost me like 6 divines to get the 2%. You could have just bought the 3% for like 2 to 3 divines, or sorry, 2% for 2 to 3 divines and saved the divining costs. I thought it'd be like, oh, it's a 50-50 chance, you know, I'll get it easily. It wasn't. I just got wrecked. I also have a few area of effect sapphires. I believe AoE you can only get on sapphires, so you get a few of these. I think you need like 20 or 30% total, and it'll allow you to get more reliable chain. I have 1 jewel with 2% mana on kill. That's also, I believe, only on sapphires. Maybe that's incorrect. It could be on other ones, but 1 of these with 2%, if you have like a decent mana pool, that'll let you clear during like breaches and mapping and whatnot without having to use your mana pot. You'll still need a mana pot for bosses occasionally, but like this fixes all of your mana issues while clearing. You don't need the mana on kill from like a weapon, glove, ring slot anymore. You can just get one of these jewels. This jewel, again, just 4 damage. I got a few magnitude of ailments because it magnifies our shock effect. Shock by default is 20% increased damage taken. 12%, or I think I don't even know how much magnitude total. I have a few of those magnitude ones. But that lets it go from 20% to like 21, 22, 23, 24%, and each one of those percents is more damage, basically, so figured why not, I'll grab that. Another magnitude here, and then I believe this was my other AoE, so yeah, this one's not as good as Chance to Shock. I was switching all the Chance to Shocks for magnitude, or like just more damage in general, but overall, there's my jewels, there's my tree. As for the gear, as we mentioned, the weapon, it's still the same. It's got that corruption, which doesn't work, but otherwise it's a 550 PDPS staff. The higher physical DPS you can get, the better. If you can get really high critical damage bonus, that's a multiplier, as we talked about in the original guide. For some reason, it's not labeled. It's plus to critical damage bonus. This is increased critical damage, so this is additive, but this is a straight multiplier to your total crit multi. I have to get another staff, but basically it changes my crit multi from like 500 to 670. I can't show it because it's going to disable my weapon because I'm not doing this quarter staff, but you know what I mean. It's a huge amount of damage, so try to prioritize that as your suffix. The other two suffixes can be whatever. If you can get like, if you need int or you need dex or you want attack speed, or if you can get one that the really expensive ones have fizz damage, flat fizz damage, hybrid fizz damage, crit damage bonus, attack speed, plus base crit, but you can get up to 11.5% base crit on the specific types of quarterstaffs. I believe it starts at 10%, but some of the bases have 11.5%. So whatever the highest base crit you can get, the better, because that just is what is then multiplied by all of your increased crit chance on the skill tree and gear and whatnot. So the rest of the gear I've updated to have enough resistances to be rarity capped, just barely. I went back, I'm missing a little bit of chaos res actually, but I went back through the campaign and apparently I was missing 20% fire res, 20% lightning res, and 2 skill points. This number should be 24 if you have all your campaign skill points. And if you take off all of your gear, this is how you check if you're missing any of the resistance ones. Your gear should be, or your resistances should be equally negative, and then if you got the 10% chaos res, it'll be 10% instead of 0. But I had like -60, -60, -40, and 10. So I was just missing a bunch of resistances because I'm dumb. And they're really hard to find on the Atlas, so make sure you go through, there's like a list. I'll try to link the list in the description. Someone made a post on Reddit with all of the places you can get bonuses from here. But TLDR, if there's a little skull or a little icon with a plus next to it, or like a question mark with a plus next to it, like this one for example, that is a permanent upgrade that you should go grab. The rest of these are just generic like loot rewards or a skill gem or something along those lines. They don't matter, but the pluses matter. And there's also underground ones that can have pluses. My mic is starting to bug out, or my speakers, 1 second. Sorry about that, my speakers were starting to buzz from static buildup or something, but I unplugged them, plugged back in, they seem to be fine now. So, but yeah, make sure you grab all those. The rest of the gear, so my helmet, still life resists, crit chance, and then if you have open prefix, open suffix, you can get double rarity slots there, up to like 50% or higher. Helmets are pretty cheap, actually. They'll get more expensive once you add more life and even higher ES, but something like this, I think I paid like 70 or 80 exalts for this one, so it's pretty cheap. Amulet, same thing, you want to grab energy shield, evasion as prefixes, or life. You can get percent evasion, percent maximum energy shield, flat energy shield, life. I have accuracy here as my other prefix, but it's whatever, anything like that. You'll need some int, some strength still on gear, so I have int here. And then chaos res, again with the double rarity, you can get prefix and suffix rarity on amulets, so grab that if you can. Rings, same thing as before, you get resistances. If you can get flat cold, flat lightning, flat fizz, life, any of those things, great. You'll need 1 unset ring between your 2 slots to have enough for all your auras, but cold lightning damage, again, double rarity. You can get a prefix and a suffix rarity on rings, so great rarity there. Other ring, same thing. Bunch of resistances. These prefixes, the accuracy and mana are kind of useless for me. They should be either cold, lightning, flat, you know, all the other stuff we just mentioned. But you can get rarity, prefix, rarity, suffix, a bunch of resistances, so this is still like 45% rarity because of the implicit, but it's only a prefix rarity roll instead of both because I need a little bit more resists. Glove slots. You can only get rarity on gloves as a suffix. So that means you have 3 prefixes open for damage and life and like ES. And then as suffixes, you can have critical damage bonus, attack speed, mana leech somewhere, physical damage, physical attack damage leeches mana as like a single mod on either your ring or your glove or your weapon. Will give you enough sustain once your damage gets high enough that this little teeny bit of physical damage that you deal, I leech 4% of that, so that's like what, 16 to 24 to 28 mana per hit basically. It's not enough to completely offset the mana cost, which I believe is 42? Yeah, 42. But it helps quite a bit. If you can get, I think you get up to like 10% physical attack damage leeches mana. That'll help you sustain on bosses. You don't need it for clearing, but on bosses, if you plan on doing like your, you plan on farming trials or doing high-end map bosses or pinnacle bosses or whatever, you'll want one of these mana leech modes basically. But yeah, crit damage bonus, attack speed, whatever is your suffixes, great. Or if you just need resistances, you can grab those too. Belt slot, I still just have the +1 charm. You can get +2, but I don't know what I would do with the third one still. Maybe an antidote charm, but I have a freeze charm and a stun charm basically. The rest is just life resist. Again, the strength, you'll need strength somewhere, so I got it on belt. Because belts can't have rarity as far as I know, so that suffix slot is open for whatever. Boots, 35% movement speed priority. Again, like gloves, you can only get rarity as a suffix on boots. So that leaves you 2 prefixes open for your other stuff like life or energy shield. But all your bases should be energy shield evasion bases. Ideally hybrid, but I don't have hybrid, so otherwise just resistances as usual. Just enough to cap. I'm missing a little bit chaos res, but I can fix that. Once they give us the ability to change runes to whatever we want, I'll probably just swap one of these to... Oh, maybe I won't have enough spirit then. I'll just get chaos res somewhere else, it's fine. But yeah, chest still the same. You want hybrid evasion energy shield as high as possible so that you get enough spirit to run all of your auras and all of their supporting gems. My chest piece gives me 127 spirit. If you don't have quite enough spirit, you can always pick up a few more of these Herald Reservation skills because you are running Herald of Ice, Herald of Thunder. These should each give you like 2 to 4 additional spirit freed up if you need it to run these supports. I believe that's all the gear. I'm just using a regular life flask, regular mana flask. Stun and freeze. So the gem links are still mostly the same. People asked about my Unbound Avatar and my Quarterstaff Strikes. These are just random gems that I don't use anymore. I have my Quarterstaff Strike to set up as if I didn't have any mana and I wanted to hit a boss with something. I can get combo, I can get rage, I can get mana leech, life leech, and it has cull. I literally never use this. It's just kind of there. If you're getting desperate in a boss fight and you did run out of mana, you can use this as an option, but it's not. You don't need to do that. You should have enough mana. The Avatar, I just have it linked to more skill effect duration, so it lasts like, I don't even know, 10 seconds or something. Yeah, 10.1. And then I have plus level of fire and plus level of cold. If I had a 6-link Herald of Ice, this would probably be in that instead, but these two are just, you're not using them anywhere else, so you can throw them in here. Ice Strike, so I did get a 6-link. They're like 2 divines now, so they're fairly cheap to get the 6-link. I 6-linked it, and then I voled it, and it got -1, because I'm stupid, so I should have voled it first, but I don't know if I could 6-link it after I did that, but... Yeah, so links. Martial Tempo for more attack speed, Conk Effect for more damage, Close Combat for more damage when they're within 1 meter of you, which is everything that you're meleeing, basically. This doesn't show up in the tooltip, so your tooltip is not going to spike when you equip this, but it is applying. And then I have Ice Bite for attacks gain 35% damage is cold damage when you freeze with Ice Strike, which is basically all the time, so this should always be up. Even on bosses, you should have this most of the time. And my last link, I put Weapon Elemental damage in here for another 25% more LE damage, basically. Charge Staff, I have chance to shock. When they shock, it also shocks enemies around it 50% of the time in a radius, so that's like guaranteed shock to things around it, which is great. Since I don't have the Ascendancy for Shock Ground, this helps spread shocks around. I also just moved blind to here and dropped the gem because this is more reliable. I used to have 5% blind on a single jewel. Now I just have 100% blind whenever it gets hit with this, so bosses are always blinded. Rare or any like rare or regular mob that you tag with Charge Staff waves will be blinded as well, which is great. And then I threw in super critical. I don't really know what to put as this last link, so I just chucked this in here. It changes from where to go. Where are my crit stuff? For some reason they're up here now. 42 and 800 multi, but if I take it out, it goes down here instead of up here. I don't know why that happens, but it's 53%, 670, same as quarterstaff strike. But when I add this in, or same as ice strike, but when I add this in, it goes up to up here 800% multi, which is like a lot. So when you have your 18% more, this should be about 15%. And then you have 800 multi, so it should be hitting pretty hard and shocking fairly regularly, which is good for boss damage. Tempest Bell, I think these are slightly different. I still have Heavy Swing for more physical. Execute, sort of like when you're DPSing bosses and they get low, below 35% health, this spikes the damage even more to help you finish them off. More maximum physical damage. And then I threw an Elemental Focus here, because anytime you hit this and apply an ailment, so say you're shocking with your charge staff, you're freezing with your ice strike, maybe you're igniting from if you have some extra fire damage, whatever, it adds a big damage boost to your Tempest Bell as like part of the shockwave. It gives it a big stack extra damage with the corresponding type. So Elemental Focus multiplies that extra damage. I don't think it doesn't really change the tooltip because it's not showing that extra damage because it doesn't know you're applying ailments on hit. But this does give quite a bit of damage, and you can't run this anywhere else really because you want your Charge Staff to shock, you want your Ice Strike to freeze, you want your Herald of Ice to shock, you want your Herald of Thunder to freeze. So it has to go here, as far as I could tell. If you have a 6 slot, you can do a +1 limit basically, so you can have 2 bells if you want for even more boss damage. But for the last things, or sorry, for Herald of Ice, we have we need Herald of Ice to shock. Herald of Ice can't freeze, but it can shock. So we gave it Lightning Infusion, so it deals lightning damage. It has Overcharge, so the magnitude of those shocks is increased by 75%, and we have another like 20-25 on our skill tree. So instead of it being 20% increased damage, it's closer to 40% increased damage. Yes, it reduces the shock duration, but you want these to just kill things for you off screen. So that shock duration doesn't need to be very long. If it just lasts a second or whatever, that's fine. It'll blow up everything around it. I have, sorry, I'm control clicking on accident. I also have Long Shot here, so it gives more attack damage as they get further away. This helps you chain off screen. And then I have Magnified Effect on this for even more AoE. Additionally, with my AoE from my gems, or sorry, jewels, it goes up to almost 3 meters explosion radius, which is pretty good. And then Herald of Thunder is the opposite of Herald of Ice. It can't shock, but we want it to freeze, so we give it Cold Infusion so it can freeze things, and then once they're frozen, Herald of Ice can kill them and shock things, and blah, blah, blah. These just repeat off each other. So we have cold damage, we have freeze buildup, so it's more reliable. As you get to higher tier maps with more health, you'll need this. And then I have more crit chance against enemies that are full life, and if you kill a shocked enemy with this, which they should be shocked from Herald of Ice, it gives you 35% damage as extra lightning while clearing, which also is added to your Herald of Ice damage, and vice versa from your the other one, Ice Bite. So you just get 35% cold and lightning all the time, which helps these two gems as well as their shock freeze chances. But the reasoning behind Ambush, I think Herald of Thunder is what hits first, because Herald of Ice will not go off until they're low health and frozen. So this hits them first, gets them low, freezes them, and then Herald of Ice goes off because they're frozen, explodes the next enemy. But this counts as an attack proc, and this counts as an attack proc. So the lightning bolt goes off with the crit bonus, I think, hits them, freezes them, and then it just kind of repeats. If you have 6 links, you can add +1 cold, +1 lightning gems, or like cold pen, lightning pen. But if you have high enough crit chance, you shouldn't need the pen. Because of your ascendancy with the ignoring resistances, you don't really need those. Ghost Dance, this aura gives you a way to get back energy shield when you do get hit. It'll give you 5% of your evasion. My evasion's kind of low now since I don't have evasion-based gear for the most part. If these were hybrid evasion ES pieces, I'd have, I think, closer to like 13 to 14k evasion, but I don't have those. So if you can get the hybrid base, it's great, but if not, this is still like some refund instantly when you do get hit to give you back energy shield. I have it linked to less skill effect duration so that it's a shorter duration between gaining your shrouds. Although it doesn't seem like it's actually doing that much. So maybe that's kind of useless. I don't know. Wind Dancer gives you more evasion per stage, ×4. And then when you do get hit, it consumes all the stages to trigger Gale Force. Gale Force is a hit in an AoE around you that pushes things away. So it's like a knockback, and it does a fair amount of damage, so it can kill things. But it has, I linked it to Maimon hit, which slows them down, so it takes them longer to walk back to you. It also reduces their evasion, so you can hit them easier. Blind does the same thing, I didn't mention that, but Blind gives them reduced evasion and chance to hit, so that is good for your accuracy, and it makes them struggle to hit you even more. Combat Frenzy, this linked with your node here that converts your gain power charges instead of frenzy charges. Combat Frenzy gives you frenzy charges when you freeze, which is all the time basically, and then this gives you your power charges for your charge staff feeding. I have it linked to Profusion, so there's a 50% chance to give you 2 when you freeze instead of just 1. Great. And then the last link here is Grim Feast. One of my auras is turned off for some reason. I don't. Oh, it's down here. Weird. There we go. Is that better? Fixed it. Cool. Grim Feast is when you kill something, it's 50% chance for it to drop a remnant. That remnant instantly gives you 100 and something ES, which is like everything you're killing all the time. This allows you to overcharge your energy shield up to twice what it is down here. So I get like 2.8k, or sorry, 4.7, 4.8k ES in maps. This is just like instant healing, basically. You kill a pack, you pick up like 10 remnants, you get like 1,000 ES back. It's quite silly, probably should be nerfed. But yeah, it's really good for ES builds. Even if you're not full ES, it's still great ES healing and doubles your ES in maps, basically. And I have that link to Clarity. You can put this anywhere. If you don't have the spear for this, just take it out. It's not super important with your mana leech and your mana on kill from your gem. You don't really need it. But if you have room, you can throw that in there. If you don't like this, you can also throw in the 1% life regen when an aura is active, or if you don't have like an accuracy roll somewhere, you can throw in 30% accuracy with the supported skill as well. And the last one is Charge Infusion, which eats your power charges, which you get automatically by freezing things from this and Combat Frenzy, to give you 18% more critical hit chance all the time in maps, which is great. I believe that's all the things, so hopefully that covers my update on how to make this build more expensive and magic find, so that you get even more currency in maps. It still has enough damage to do most things that I've fought so far. I have not done like the pinnacle bosses or anything anything like that yet. My Atlas tree, I've been working towards it. I have 8 of 8 in Breach. I got carried for most of those, and then this one I also did myself, but this one I got carried for the first Arbiter. Havoc and Jester just one-shot bosses. They have like some cast on shock build that does like 300 million damage a hit, so everything just dies. I don't know if this is correct, so this is just what I'm using. These might be wrong. I have no idea. Same with these. I don't know if these are correct per se for optimal farming, but this is what I'm using. I believe that's everything, so hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions or if I forgot anything, feel free to leave them in the comments or come visit me on stream, twitch.tv/demi, which should be down here at some point. You can also join our Discord to ask questions, but thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and that'll be Demi out.